tell you I'm happy, but I'm grieving. Thought I was a fighter, but I'm still in the fire. Because if I'm being honest, I'm not being honest. I'll give you roses, just hoping you don't see the weeds in my garden. That's what we do. That's what human nature causes us to do. If we are honest, we aren't really being honest because we just hope that people only see the roses in our life and not the weeds that are in our garden. So we're using that phrase, weeds in our garden, as a metaphor to describe the mental health struggles that we are going through and often try to hide from other people. I want you to know, whether you were invited here by a friend or whether you heard I was doing a mental health series, you need to know that you are welcome just as you are, no matter what your emotional state or mental state is right now. You need to know that. There's a phrase that is often used these days. It goes something like this: the struggle is real. As a part of our mental health struggles, sometimes we have bought into the lie. Here's what it says. It's not lie number one. We've got lie number one coming up in a minute. I am the only one. Nobody in this room. Look around this room. I don't see any of you. You're all perfectly, you all have your act together. I'm the only one in the room that has that problem. But you are not the only one. Over the years, I've asked many people to give their testimony about the struggles in their life or what they've gone through. Almost every time that I do that, without fail, somebody in the crowd will come to me after church or during that week, and they will contact me and they will say, I thought I was the only one that ever went through that. I want to trust you. You are not the only one, and they've got it right up there. You need to know, I am not the only one. You look around this room, I got news for you folks. Nobody in this room has their act totally together. We all have our weeds in our garden. Don't let their pretty faces fool you. Here's what we do when we do that. We compare our outside presentation with their outside presentation, how they look. They're all pretty faces. They're all made up really nice. You guys all look terrific today, by the way. Just want you to know. We could all have a group picture. We'd all look great. But we compare that with the inside struggles that we have. We compare their roses to the weeds in our garden. I just want you to know that the majority of us are or have been or know someone right now who is struggling with their mental health. So 2 weeks ago, I gave us 3 principles. I want to recap that first message just really quickly. We won't spend any length of time on, and we're going to go in reverse order. So the last thing I told you 2 weeks ago was relationships are indispensable to mental health. And I think whatever we have learned in the last 5 years of isolation and social distancing only grows more weeds in our garden. Even Jesus needed relationships. That's why I will never, ever stop encouraging you to get into a group. get into a Bible study, get into a life group. And I realize some are getting ready to take a break for the summer. But I don't know if you realize up there on that board up there, but that number down there a ways is the number of people that during the week have met in groups, and amazingly, it's almost equal to the number of people in worship. Amazingly, like 65 people were in a group of some kind during the week. It's just amazing. All right, number 2, I said there's a complex root system to the weeds in our garden. There's a complex root system to the weeds in our garden. And we said there were 4 different kind of areas that we see these weeds. One is situational. Situational. Life happens and we get caught up in the middle of it. Circumstances change and our plans, and we're not very flexible, and then we really, really struggle. Some are biological. Some of us are predisposed to depression or weight issues or whatever the struggle may be. We say it's just in our genes. I'm sure none of you have ever said that phrase before. C, medical or clinical. Some of us are going through some pretty tough diagnosis. And it's easy for us to give up or throw a pity party. We say, poor me, look at me. Some are spiritual, that's letter D. Certainly, some of the weeds are spiritual. And we need to work some things out with Jesus one-on-one before we can move forward. And then the first thing I said, it's number 3 in this thing, because I'm doing it the complete opposite way. You need to know that Jesus really cares about the weeds in your garden. One of the things that I shared with you is that Jesus was always drawn towards hurting people, whether they were ill or had demons or mental health issues or physical. And I love the phrase in Matthew that we talked about in that message. And it said, no matter their issue, he healed them all. That's the phrase I want you to get. He healed them all. He didn't say, oh, no, you've got a mental health issue. I don't want to deal with that. I only deal with physical issues. In the next 4 weeks, we're going to get to some practical things. So next week, we're going to talk about worry and anxiety. I'm sure not anyone in the room has worry or anxiety, ever. Then the following week, we're going to go press just a little bit deeper. We're going to talk about those who are overwhelmed, and we're going to get specific about depression and self-harm, and yes, even suicide. Then the following week, we're going to talk about stress and burnout, which is so much of our mental health issues and battles today. And then finally, we will talk about one of my favorite subjects. I like it so well, I put it on the license plate of my car. We're going to talk about hope, because I think there's hope for all of us, no matter what the mental health issue today, because Jesus really does care about the weeds in your garden, I want to focus on the fact that some of our mental health issues are spiritual. I'm not saying they can't be situational, biological, or medical. I just don't want us to ignore the fact that there is a spiritual battle going on. I titled this message, Lies from the Enemy. And there are a couple of takeaways that I want to bring out in this message about the lies that the enemy spreads, that we need to grasp a hold of if we're going to take a holistic approach to mental health. First of all, You have a spiritual enemy who is the father of lies. You have a spiritual enemy who is the father of lies. Whether you believe it or not, you have a spiritual enemy who is doing everything he can to keep you away from God. His name is Satan, and he's working hard to put lies into your head, to put weeds into your garden. You say, come on, Bob. You don't believe in that mythical character. We see on TV a Saturday Night Live skit about Satan, and we make jokes about Satan. You heard about the man who was questioning his wife about the $500 dress that she had just bought. She explained she was in the store and it was so beautiful, she just had to try it on. She did, and she heard Satan say, "You look beautiful." The husband interjected, "You should have said, 'Get thee behind me, Satan.'" She said, "I did." And Satan said, "You look beautiful from back here too." Sometimes we've joked about Satan so much that we don't take his existence seriously. There's a classic line from the movie Usual Subjects where they say the greatest trick, listen to this, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world that he does not exist. That he does not exist. Ephesians 6:12 says, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against," get this phrase, "spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." Spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. So how does Jesus describe many who follow Satan? He does that in John 8:44. He says, "You belong to the father, the devil, and you want to carry out your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning, not holding to the truth, for there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks his native language." I love that. "For he is a liar," and then that phrase I really want you to hold on to. "He is the father of lies." He's the father of lies. The Old Testament says God created a wise, brilliant, blameless, beautiful angel, called him Lucifer. We are told in Ezekiel 28 and Isaiah 14 that the angel became proud and sought to ascend to the throne of God himself. He wanted to be God. But because of this rebellion against God, God cast him out of his heaven forever. Since that moment, he has been God's contentious opponent. But not only that, he cast out 1/3 of all the angels in heaven with him. Revelation 12. And let me just say, because I think your bulletin says Proverbs 12:9. This is not on Karen. This is on Bob, who quickly wrote his outline for her on Thursday evening so she would have it. And all I saw was the letter V, and I said, oh, it must be Proverbs. It's not Proverbs, it's Revelation 12:9. So any mistake in the bulletin is on this man right here, okay? So Revelation 12:9, because Proverbs 12:9 doesn't say any of this. Revelation 12:9 says, "The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth, and his angels with him. And they were cast out too." Where were they cast out to? Down to earth. And now we have this force of darkness to deal with. Demons are the angels who fell from Satan. Daniel 10 says, Satan had demonic angels assigned to earth. When we talk about basketball, I'm a sports guy, as some of you know. When you talk about NBA basketball players, and some of you aren't going to know who these people are, and I apologize, but it's the best way I can explain what I'm trying to explain. So, when I was growing up, there was a guy who was actually just a year ahead of me. So he played when I was in college, he was playing in college. We know him today as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He had a signature move. Every basketball player has every great basketball player has their signature move. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, what was his favorite move? I'm going to ask Earl over here.
Sky hook.
Sky hook. See, I knew he would know the answer to that. He was famous for it. Michael Jordan, it was the fadeaway. Magic Johnson, it was the no-look pass. He'd look this way and pass it that way. Satan has a signature move too. You need to catch this. This is his signature move. He lies. He lies. And he lies again. He's the father of lies. And you need to know that that's stated agenda. Listen to the stated agenda of Satan according to Scripture. John 10:10. We always quote the second half of John 10:10, but look at the first part of John 10:10. I have it right here. The thief comes only, and I've got them highlighted, to steal and kill and destroy. That's Jesus, I have come that you may have life and you might have it to the full, or you might have it abundantly. Now, I have some good news for you. And I'm sure you all realize this, but I have great news for you. Jesus ultimately defeats Satan. In Matthew 25, he talks about the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. Revelation 12 says he is defeated by the blood of the Lamb, Jesus Christ. The cross of Jesus Christ defeated him. You say, if Satan and his demons are already defeated, what are they fighting for? I'm telling you what they're fighting for. They're fighting for you. They're fighting over you. They want you, and they want me. They're fighting to steal your joy, to steal your peace, to steal your hope, to affect your mental health. They're like a baseball team that's been eliminated from the playoffs. So they try to play the spoiler. They try to see how many teams they can knock off in those last few weeks that can knock them out of the playoffs. Satan hates the Creator God. He can't destroy the Creator, so he works on the next best thing, and that's you and me. You and I are the crowning achievement of his creation. Some of you need to hear that today, because you have such a low view of yourself. That's why we sang the song You Say. And if you don't remember all the words, you can Google it. I'll print the words out for you, whatever you want. But here's what God says about you. You are not all those lies that Satan gives you. We either feel that way about ourselves because we have a low view of ourselves, or because we have negative thoughts that have been told to us over the years by other people. It's called negative self-talk. You need to know today you are the crowning achievement of God's creation. You may not have a high view of yourself, but God has a high view for you, a very high view of yourself. You may not believe in it, but God sure does. God believes in you. And Satan actually hates you and is doing all he can to destroy you. You have a spiritual enemy who is the father of lies, and he's going to fight dirty. But you need to remember what God thinks about you. All right, number 2. Here's the second takeaway. Satan is trying to convince you of some of the lies about you. Satan is trying to convince you of some of the lies about you. As it relates to your mental health, as it relates to the weeds in your garden, as it relates to everything in your life, he's going to fill you with lies. So here's lie number 1. It's letter A in my outline. The issue is my identity. The issue is my identity. Some of you are beginning to define yourself by the issue you're struggling with. I like the ministry of AA. I like what they do. I like Celebrate Recovery much better. And I want to tell you the difference between Alcoholics Anonymous and Celebrate Recovery. One of the things about Celebrate Recovery is it handles more issues than just alcohol. But when you introduce yourself at an AA meeting, you say, "Hi, my name is Bob, and I'm an alcoholic." I'm not an alcoholic, by the way. My wife won't allow. No, I'm a Pepsi-aholic, I think, Diet Pepsi-aholic. In Celebrate Recovery, I want you to notice the very subtle difference. "Hi, my name is Bob. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ who struggles with," whatever it might be. The issue doesn't define you. God defines you. What did the song say? And you say, "You are my identity." Listen to those words again. You are my identity. Rather than "this is who I am," God says, "No, I want to define you not by your issues, but by how I see you." Satan tries to blur the lines for you. He will say, "You are your issue. You are. That's who you are. You will always be." But I would contend that there's a spiritual enemy behind that sort of thinking. Do some of you, have you ever said these lines? "I'll never feel happy." It feels true in the moment, but it isn't true. "I'm not enough." That was even in the song. "I'm not enough." That's not true. God says you are a valued son or daughter of the King. And His image is stamped all over you. You are made in the image of God. Some might say, "I am worthless." Jesus would say otherwise. You are worthy enough for me to go to the cross for you. Some would say, "Well, I hate my parents," or "my parents hate me," or "my depression is making everyone miserable. I'm a burden to everyone. I think they would be better off without me." That's a lie. Many of you are thinking, "I don't have what it takes. I failed once, I'll probably fail again." The reason the father of lies wants to convince you that you are your identity is your issue is destruction, dismantling, and dismember. I can't say the word. Anyway, of the image of God that is within you. Think about the time you gave your life to Jesus. You have a new standing with God. And more, remember you're just a babe, and more He will transform you into His image and likeness, even the likeness of Jesus. We are an unfinished product, and He is preparing you and me for eternity with Him. Satan wants to convince you you don't have that standing with God, that you are your issue. He's trying to obliterate you out of the image of God. He's trying to convince you that you are the issue. And that is not how God thinks of you. Instead of the fact that you are a valued son or daughter of the King of Kings, listen. Something does not have to be true to be believed. We believe things all the time that aren't true. Well, I saw it on Google, so it must be true. That's not the case. All right, lie number 2. B. I am my diagnosis. I am my diagnosis. Abigail Schreier wrote a book called Bad Therapy. Why Kids Aren't Growing Up. That's the name of the book. She says in the book there's a tremendous increase, especially among young people, to refer to themselves by their diagnosis. So they will say, I'm anxious, I'm depressed, I'm chemically imbalanced. You are not, listen to me clearly, church, you are not your diagnosis. Even Morgan Freeman, I saw it in a commercial the other day on TV, says in the commercial, you are not your diagnosis. That's what he says. But Satan is crafty and will lie to you through the weeds in your garden. The lie comes out in the situational category. It comes out in that situational category, and it says the past will never change. You will always be living in the past. You are what you have done. You didn't just go through a divorce, you are a divorce. That's what the lie says. When you come to the biological category, he says when you begin to explore what makes you, you buy into the lie, I'll never be who God wants me to be. Or I'll never be who my parents want me to be. But that's all a lie. It's all a lie. Satan comes to you in the medical and the clinical as you deal with the weight of whatever the diagnosis or the test result is. The life you were hoping to have, you see it slipping away before your eyes. Several weeks ago, Brenda and I had lunch with a family in our church. I won't mention their names, but we had lunch. And it was during the time before the first episode of kidney stones and the second episode of kidney stones. And so I was still very, 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 very weak. I was much better after we got the second round out. I'll share that in another time. But that's when that lunch was held. And I don't know whether I'd stepped out to use the restroom or I went to pay the bill, but when we got in the car, Brenda said, I can't believe my ears. She said, the lady that we were having lunch with, her and her husband, she said to me, you know Bob's never going to get better. This is the best he's going to be. Now, it doesn't take a lot, or it takes a lot to make my wife angry. She was fit to be tied. She said, tell me that's not true, Bob. Tell me that you're going to get better. And I said, I do believe I'm going to get better. And you know, the next week we went through round 2 of the kidney stones. I don't know what possessed this person to say that to Brenda. I'm clearly better today than I certainly was on that day. And I expect to even be better every week going forward. You are not your diagnosis. It also shows up in the spiritual realm. He's already, that is Satan, whispering in your ear. He's whispering in your ear right now. And he's saying to you, you are such a fraud. You are such a hypocrite. You're singing the psalms and you're praying the prayers. But you know what you were watching on the computer or the TV last night. You know the names that you yelled out in anger as you were in traffic. You are such a hypocrite. That's what Satan is going to tell you. You are not. How many times did you tell God? How many times did you tell God that you wouldn't do that thing that you did, but here you are doing it again? Satan whispers, you might as well walk away from God because surely he's tired of you being a hypocrite. You need to walk away from the church because you don't want them to find out who you really are, that you're damaged goods. You know, if people knew you were damaged goods, they wouldn't have anything to do with you. That is such a lie. Our people, this church, rallies around people who are feeling wrecked and damaged. I want you to hear me clearly today, folks. Those things are all lies. The only way to destroy the lies of the enemy is with the truth. And that's number one here. You defeat Satan's lies with the truth. God's truth is the only antidote. And you have to rehearse it over and over and over and over. The Apostle Paul wrote in Philippians 4:8, and I think it'll be up on the screen. You got that slide? Philippians 4:8. There we are. I want you to notice the highlighted words. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think upon such things. That's it, folks. The way to battle the lies of the enemy is to fill your mind with the truth. When the liar says you are weak, fight back with Isaiah 40:31, which says, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. When the liar suggests you are a failure, fight back with Romans 8:37 that says, no, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loves us. When the liar says you are rejected, fight back with the truth. According to Ephesians 1:6, Jesus says, I'm accepted. And here's the verse. To the praise of his glorious grace, which he has freely given us in the one he loves. When the liar tells you are rejected, you are rejected. Fight back with the truth that you'll never be accepted. Fight back with the truth according to 1 John 3:1. Great passage. See what it says, 1 John 3:1. See what great love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called children of God. That is what we are. The reason the world does not know us is that it did not know him. You are a child of God. So here's the conclusion. Forget the lies. Fight back with the truth. I'm adding that in there. Because you are, and you need to know as you walk out this door today, no matter where you've been, no matter what your life has been, you are a child of the one true King. You are a child of the one true King. We're going to sing a song that may be new to some of you. It's by Matthew West. It says, "Hello, my name is," and I don't want to cut it too short because there's certainly a phrase in there that's going to sound familiar to the conclusion. When we get to that phrase, I want you to sing it out with all your heart. All right, let's sing the song.